Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. In today's episode we're going to move this Red Sea Max 130. Alright guys, so as pointed out, I've got to move my original reef tank, one that I've had now for a bit over 7 years. I bought it secondhand as my first sort of dipping of the toe into the water of reef keeping, and after about 6 months of it being over where my main display is, when we started planning that one, we moved it over here onto the kitchen bench, and it's lived there happily ever after since. Now, problem being, we're in the process of, if I pan around, you'll see a little bit of renovating our kitchen with new cabinets, new bench, new appliances, new sink and things like that. And the new bench tops are only about a week away. So I've got to get this tank off the bench so I can take the bench off. Now, thankfully it's not moving far. It's moving into my fish room. It's only about maybe a 10-meter move at that. I've had the cabinet, the original cabinet, stored out of my shed for all this time, and I just brought it out yesterday and did a little bit of structural work on it. The base looked a little bit questionable, so rather than risk it and staying awake at night wondering whether it's going to hold, I've added a little bit of structural pine to the base just to give it a bit of oomph. Now today I've got to drain this tank down probably about 3/4 of the way. I'll leave enough water in there for the fish to still swim around. I might take this top rock out with all the nems on it because it is loose. I'll take that out and put that in a bucket, and once the water level's down a little bit, I might put some foam panels in just around the scape so that if the rock does tend to fall over or anything, it's going to hit the foam and not the glass. Other than that, I'll just get a loan of some mussel and we'll carry it into the other room and hopefully be job done, but I better put the camera down and get started doing some work. Alright, so I've started to drain some of the water out of the tank and I've got it down into a bucket here. I've got a bucket that's big enough to get my main and enemy rock in it. This rock just sits pretty loose on top of the tank, so I want to get it out. I noticed a bit of glue, just a bit of poly glue just came off. That's okay. I want to get it out so it can't tumble when we move the tank. There's a couple other bits of rock there that are pretty loose too, so I might get them. We'll see how we go, but this one definitely needs to come out. Just going to try and minimize splashing. I'll get that tub over here handy. And we'll get him down in there. Hopefully he fits. Like a glove. Beautiful. I'll get that loose bit of poly glue out of there now. Funny stuff, that. All right, let's have a look at this rock structure. That's pretty stable. That's actually pretty stable. I probably could take that piece out, but I might just sit it back down there. That is kind of crushing the dulles, but that's all right. The rest of that rockwork should be pretty stable. I think we can drain the water down to about this far. That'll give us enough, take enough weight off this tank so we can carry it, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I drained the water down to the height that I wanted it, but thankfully I just remembered that in the Red Sea Max, the back chamber is full of water as well, so I just turned the pump on to exit the water out of the back chamber, pump that back into the display section. As a result, it has stirred things up a little bit, which may make the water look a little bit cloudy. Ultimately not a bad thing because there'll be some nooks and crannies in the aquascape of this that hasn't seen any sort of flow of water for many years, so there's worse things that can happen, but it'll just make carrying the tank a lot easier rather than having this huge column of water at the back, which could make it a bit uneven and a bit hard to balance. So hopefully now the tank will be a bit more even when we go to carry it. All right, mate, yeah. So we've got the water out of the tank. I've turned the power off. I've removed all the cables from the wall so that hopefully now we've got a pretty much a self-standing tank. James over here to lend some muscle, and we're just going to see if we can move it in. Well, I'll just show you where we're going first so you can see. We're going to come through here, which could be a bit tight through this gap. We should be pretty good. Then we'll come in and she'll sit up on there. Perfect. In case you're wondering why there's an extra tank stand there. Should be easy. We'll see how we go for weight. Just see how it's going to dangle, of course. Yeah, it's all good. Sort of hold that there. Just want to see how oh yeah, okay. Yeah, it should be good. I'll twist, and then I can tip down a bit. Can you get your fingers under?
A bit more. Yep.
You right?
Yep.
Sure?
Yep.
Okay.
Good now. You right?
Yeah, I'm good. Somehow you've managed, I'll spin around so I go backwards.
Whatever's easy, mate.
So just watch your elbows and shoulders.
If only my tank move was this close.
Yeah, it's close to make it easy, but still not that easy. Heavy enough, and now I've given you the tricky side as well. Just get, that's it. Should be able to start sliding him from there. Somewhere around there, we'll straighten him up, and easy as that, mate.
It wasn't hard at all.
Nah, easy as pie. I'll get some power to him and get that water back in, and take the opportunity to straighten him before I get an extra 100 kilos in there. Yeah, that'll work. Beautiful, job done. All right, so I've got the aquarium in here. I've got the power hooked up. I've just got the light on so I can see what I'm doing. It's going to start siphoning some of the tank water back in there, just so my poor fish have got somewhere to swim. I have no idea how it's managed to survive like 7 years without being glued down, but hey, works for me. Let's chuck the ballast over there, that'll work. Yeah, should be another bit goes on the side, that bit. Yep, it tells me which way is up because that side's dark, that side's light. Dark side goes up. I had a feeling he sat over there, could be wrong. I like to upset the scape on this tank anyway, so it doesn't really matter if the rock is not the same way. And finally the nem rock. She's still got about 5 nems on here, so she's worth a pretty penny. Yeah, that looks like a good scape. Yeah, it's not right over here, but I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. Probably could check my own video and work it out, but it was better before. All right, now that I've got the tank in place, the water back in there, I've used all the tank water that was in there originally. I'll do a big water change on it tomorrow, but I just wanted to keep the same water in there for now just to minimize interruptions. Obviously with all the detritus and the rescaping and things like that, there's gonna be a bit of stir up in there, so it's probably gonna sulk for a couple of days. So I'll do probably a 40 to 50% water change tomorrow, and over the next few days, I'll add a lot of probiotics. This is the Reef Revolution Probio Blast. It's 2 drops per 100. You can overdose this. I'm going to go 3 drops, and I'm going to do that daily just to keep all the good bacteria in there and just help with the little mini cycle that it's going to go through from moving from point A to point B. All right, so here's where the tank was. It's been sitting there for almost 7 years. No damage to the kitchen bench. You can ignore all of the dishes and this cable running down here to our Hue lights that'll be moved as part of the renovation. Here's my big helper. He's pretty tired from a day of moving a fish tank. But if we pan around this way, you can see the new stand there and come into the fish room. There's our idiot-proof reef tank. Here's our Red Sea Max setup. It's not actually had a water change yet. I did give it some of the Reef Revolution Probio Blast just to keep things cleared up. You can see it's all doing pretty well. The nems are still sulking there, still hiding. In fact, you can just see one up in there, and there's one that the clowns are sort of hovering around just up in there. In fact, they're blocking it. You can see one at the back there is opening up. So the nems are going to take another day or two to open up, but the tank itself is all there. I've got my auto water change lines coming in and out of the tank at the back here. So I've got obviously the skimmer air intake, that's water out, RO in, and water in. So the tank's now in position. I must admit, it looks really different sitting a little bit lower in a slightly darker room, but that's where it's going to sit for a little while. Whether it makes it back out onto the kitchen bench or not remains to be seen, but the tank is in here and it's still running, and happy days. So I guess all in all, it wasn't too hard to move. We just had to reduce the weight, get the stand ready to take it, and bring her in. So it's as easy as that to move a Red Sea Max 130. All right, guys, there you have it. The Red Sea Max is moved. It was as simple as that. If you've got any questions about the move or about anything else in general, feel free to pop the comments in the section down below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you're yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. It costs you nothing and takes 2 seconds of your time. It'll help you see when I release future videos. It'll also help me get my videos out to a broader audience. So till next time, guys, stay safe and keep reefing. Cheers. Bye.